Toyota's improved 4th generation 6-cylinder Land Cruiser is the preferred mode of transport in some of the world's harshest environments, so it's a safe bet that it will be up to pretty much anything you could put it through. It's not cheap, but it is tough, dependable, will hold its value and probably outlive you. Even better off-road and slightly better on it, this smarter version's a little easier to live with, but remains as honest a large, luxurious 7-seater SUV as you could possibly want. In an age of crossovers, soft roaders and various other permutations of pretend 4x4s, it's refreshing once in a while to come across the real thing. And this is it, Toyota's Land Cruiser. The nameplate goes back to 1954, but since 1985, buyers in 188 countries across the globe have been able to choose between two very separate Land Cruiser model lines. The ultimate V8 engine flagship is a super luxury SUV aimed at executive Range Rover class customers who like the thought of commuting to Knightsbridge via Ben Nevis. The 3-litre D4D model we're looking at here, however, is a completely separate car. Though just as tough and nearly as big as its pricier stablemate, it's aimed more at well-heeled families who generally want 7 seats and something a bit tougher and more practical than a typical large luxury SUV. Only Land Rover's Discovery has the class and substance to really offer anything quite the same. Not surprisingly, it's this 6-cylinder car and its various so-called light-duty series Land Cruiser predecessors that have accounted for the lion's share of the 5 million sales generated by this model line over the last 6 decades. Typical owners could be anyone from a Kenyan safari guide to a Siberian mining contractor, and it's these people, rather than green-wellied housewives, that the Land Cruiser has been developed to suit. Hence the separate traditional ladder frame chassis and live rear axle setup that more car-like European rivals long ago abandoned in search of tarmac performance. That limits this big Toyota's market appeal, of course, but loyal customers won't care. They buy this car because it's tough, spacious, it'll go anywhere and it'll probably outlive them. Here we're looking at the 4th generation version, first introduced in 2009 but upgraded in late 2013 to create the smarter, higher tech car on test here. Let's check it out. If you'd classify the driving position of something like a RAV4 as being high up, then a seat behind this Land Cruiser's steering wheel will make you feel like you're in the umpire's chair at Wimbledon. It's a seat of high command from which you marshal an almost bewildering selection of knobs, buttons, screens and switches that collectively combine to send this car smoothly over terrain you'd struggle to walk across, let alone glide through with Radio 4 soothing you on the stereo. Only one engine is offered in this particular brand of Land Cruiser, a big 4-cylinder 3-litre D4D diesel capable of 0 to 62 miles an hour in 10.2 seconds that's matched to a smooth but slightly ponderous automatic gearbox limited to just 5 speeds, but intelligent enough to adjust to your driving style. The 188 brake horsepower now on offer doesn't seem like a great deal when a 3-litre Discovery offers you nearly 70 brake horsepower more. But greater emphasis in this Toyota's case has been put on torque, 420 newton meters of pulling power now being on hand to drag you out of the front gate and power up to speed in that small traffic gap, or drag you through a parched earth ravine in Death Valley, whichever is more appropriate. Assuming the former scenario to be a more common one, this car impresses with reasonably accurate response from the variable flow control power steering, great all-round visibility and reassuring brakes. The ride's actually very good too, or at least it is on this top variant with its electronically modulated rear air suspension, there to address the rather unsettled low-speed ride you get on lower range models. This offers 3 heights: normal, high or low, which you might want to manually select say the low setting to help passengers get in, or the high mode for a gnarly off-road trail. On the move on tarmac, you'll want to leave the speed-sensitive control to automatically select forward motion based on the speed you're going. There's also auto-leveling that adjusts the suspension to suit the load you're carrying. On top of the air-sprung damping, this top model also gets the desirable AVS, Adaptive Variable Suspension System, which can adjust the ride you get to suit the road that you're on and the mood you're in via the normal, comfort and sport settings you get from this centre console switch. But of course, it is what it is. Weighing nearly 2.5 tonnes and lacking the car-like monocoque chassis of European rivals in favour of the ladder-framed underpinnings that true mud-plugging ability demands, this is never going to be a BMW X5 style SUV around the twisty stuff, and it isn't. Even on a top model like this one, with behaviour further civilised by a high-tech KDSS kinetic damping suspension system. This is one of those active anti-roll setups with active anti-roll bars that limit pitch, not only from left to right, but also from front to rear. Though that obviously helps through the turns, cornering body roll must still be allowed for, in the same way that you must carefully plan overtaking manoeuvres ahead of time to take account of the prodigious weight. And off-road? Well, where do I start? As long as you can afford the priciest version, it's everything a Land Rover Discovery is, and then some. There's a proper range of off-road stats that most competitors can only wonder at. An approach angle of 32 degrees, a departure angle of at least 24 degrees, and a ramp breakover angle of 22 degrees. You can drive this car at a scary maximum bank angle of up to 42 degrees and at a maximum forward or reverse pitch angle of 42 degrees, and wade through water up to 700 millimetres deep. All models get a permanent four-wheel drive system, of course, with high and low ratio gearboxes you swap between via this control ahead of the gear stick. And the usual Torsen limited slip differential, able as required to apportion torque between front and rear axles that offer astonishing levels of articulation, allowing wheels to drop into huge ruts and dips. The underside of the vehicle has even been engineered so that if you do get beyond the 215mm ground clearance and ground out, it'll slide over the surface rather than grind through it. This top model, though, offers a whole package of extra features. That active anti-roll system I mentioned earlier, for example, cleverly works in reverse off-road to offer maximum body movement and therefore maximum grip. Plus, you can lock the rear differential if you're really stuck. Not that there's any excuse for getting stuck if you properly choose between the multi-terrain select setup's 4 different modes: mud and sand, loose rock, mogul and rock and dirt. There's even a crawl control system on this top model in which your car will pick its way along at speeds of up to 3 miles an hour over almost any terrain you care to throw at it. All you need to do is to steer. This replaces the more conventional hill start control and downhill assist control features fitted to lower range Land Cruiser models. Drivers of this flagship Land Cruiser variant don't even have to get out and inspect what they may be about to hit, thanks to 4 external cameras that feed pictures back to the fascia's central display screen. They even work underwater. Should you lose track off-road of which way the wheels are pointing, which is actually easy to do in glutinous mud, the same screen will show you via a tyre angle display. There's also now a display in the centre of the instrument binnacle to show you body angle and off-road traction monitoring. Plus, there's a clever sat-nav capability that can even help you if you get lost in a field, showing a fairy story style trail of where you've been so that you can find your way home. In a world of stylised luxury SUVs, there's something about this Land Cruiser's bluff-fronted suitability for purpose that's rather refreshing, if you like that sort of thing. Even some of the aesthetic updates made to the facelifted 4th generation model we're looking at here have their roots in greater off-road practicality. Take the way the headlamp clusters and daytime running lights now form a single unit with the grille, with the entire structure set higher so it's less vulnerable to damage in extreme driving conditions. Then there's the oversized front bumper's chunkier two-step design that further protects the headlights above. Yet, despite the 20mm that this adds to the front overhang, has been designed so that it doesn't lessen the car's approach angle on a steep slope. Here I'm going to focus on the long wheelbase body style that almost all buyers in this country choose, though I'll point out that the farmers and industrial folk who still like the short wheelbase three-door model can still buy one. This bigger body style's profile remains much as before, though owners familiar with the original version of this Mark IV model might notice the smarter 17 or 18-inch alloy wheels, maybe also the smaller door mirrors with their integrated LED indicators. Otherwise though, this car remains tough, tall and imposing, with few concessions to style, though the distinctive flat-topped wheel arches, the bold sill line and the powerful haunches do catch the eye. At the back, the spare wheel, as before, hangs temptingly in plain view below the level of the bumper, but at least you do still get a proper spare wheel, which is rare enough these days. Further up, there's a more prominent number plate surround and redesigned rear lamp clusters with clear lens blocks and red accents. It all looks a little smarter, but if you're familiar with this car, then you'll probably be of the opinion that the design time could have been better spent in correcting what is arguably this Land Cruiser's most annoyingly distinctive design cue, the side-opening tailgate, a real pest in tight supermarket car parks. True to compensate, Toyota has provided an opening tailgate glass section, but to get your bags in through the opening it creates is an awful lot of work, so high is the loading lip from the ground. Once you do get stuff inside, the news is mostly all good, with nice little touches like this toolbox stowed in its own purpose-designed tailgate compartment. I'm going to assume that, like almost all buyers of this long wheelbase model, you want 7 seats, though a 5-seat only configuration is still offered at the foot of the range at a pointlessly marginal cost saving. If you do want a model with 3 rows of chairs, then you probably won't be expecting much carriage capacity with all of them in place. You'll be right. There's just 104 litres, though Toyota reckons that is just about enough for 1 large and 1 medium-sized suitcase. Good luck with that. Switch to the more common 5-seat configuration though, and of course things improve markedly. One of the big advantages of choosing this 6-cylinder light-duty series Land Cruiser model rather than its larger, ritzier V8 stablemate is that when you're not using the third-row seats, they don't have to be stored vertically on each side of the cargo area, Land Rover Defender style, when not in use. Instead, they fold properly into the boot floor with a clever, easy flat arrangement that on mid or high-spec models like this one works at the press of a button. Even the headrest stows itself automatically. Neat. It'll all be welcome for anyone who, like me, has broken fingernails or drawn blood battling with seat folding mechanisms. For families, it'll be a major selling point. Once the third-row seating disappears, a 621-litre space is revealed, big enough to swallow 4 large suitcases and equipped with a luggage net, tie-down hooks, a 220-volt AC power outlet, a storage tray, a 3.8-litre storage box, and on most models a sliding rail system too. You can extend it too by pushing forward a 40-20-40 split middle bench that has 125mm of sliding travel. But if that's still not enough, then pushing forward that bench frees up 974 litres of total capacity. Now that's a bit less than you get in most rivals in this configuration, but it's quite as much as most families will ever need. So the square boxy shape gives you plenty of carriage capacity, as you'd have expected. But how will it be for people? Is this car really a realistic alternative to a 7-seat large MPV? Well, possibly. An SUV is never going to be as invitingly spacious for third-row folk as a big people carrier would be, because all those four-wheel drive mechanicals raise the ride height. Now you realise that stepping up into this thing. Even on models like this one with air suspension that can be lowered to ease access, the 2.5cm drop provided doesn't make much difference, though the side step and the way that the folded seat angle here has been increased to aid access are both welcome touches. Once you do get yourself back into this third row, you'll certainly find it better than the kids-only zone offered by most cars of this kind. Cup holders and a power socket are provided for junior folk, but two adults could happily cope back here, provided they weren't too tall and the journey wasn't too long. Thanks in part to the way that on mid to high-spec models you can electrically recline the seats for greater comfort. Of course, if there are adults at the very back, second row folk will need to considerately position their sliding bench to suit those people's needs. This seatback reclines too, and there's excellent standards of head and legroom. Plenty of practicality too, with seatback pockets, twin cup holders, and door pockets with bottle holders. Now, as usual, if you're trying to take 3 adults, the middle person will have pulled the short straw, but 3 children will be quite happy here, especially in a top model like this one, with its drop-down Blu-ray DVD screen. At the wheel, as ever, it's more about durability than style, but everything's of high quality. I still think the wood and plastic mix on top versions like this one could be better, but the piano black and aluminium detail finishes introduced around the cabin do add a slightly more upmarket feel. As you'd expect, you sit high up with a commanding position on 6 or 8-way adjustable seats, and there are nice touches like this soft touch knee pad on the side of the centre console. The Land Cruiser's dashboard ergonomics have always been a bit muddled, but at least some attempt has been made with this improved model to try and tidy things up. As before, a huge colour screen dominates the middle of the dashboard, but now it's the easier to use Toyota Touch infotainment system found on the brand's other models, with a 7-inch display 4 times sharper than before. The centre console also gains a switch panel that brings together the controls for the on- and off-road driving technologies. These include a selector dial for the 5-mode multi-terrain select system and 5-step crawl control functions, flanked by switches for the all-wheel drive and the adaptive variable suspension. The key change, though, with this model is the adoption of this 4.2-inch TFT colour screen that's set between redesigned Optitron thin-needled speedo and rev counter dials in the instrument binnacle and is operable by steering wheel controls. It's got a wide range of functions that are especially helpful off-road, where this display can show you the vehicle body angle, the traction control operation on each wheel, and the status of the differential locks. Despite all the improvements, you'll still need plenty of time with the 1200-page handbook to understand all the rather scattered switchgear. For example, the way that the stability control button is still located out of sight under the steering wheel. Still, at least reading up will allow you to more easily locate all the various storage options provided for adventurous land cruising folk, as well as properly sized door bins with built-in bottle holders and a huge glove box. There's this centre storage box that's big enough to hold 4 half-litre bottles and is cooled on most models for the storage of drinks, which can then be dispensed to various individual cup holders provided in 3 different sizes. I also like this overhead sunglasses compartment, which folds out to reveal a rear conversation mirror, allowing parents to better monitor kids in the back. List prices suggest that you'll be paying just over £35,000 for the rare three-door short wheelbase manual gearbox only version of this car. Most though will want the long wheelbase five-door variant I have here, a model offered only with automatic transmission and priced directly against its arch rival, Land Rover's Discovery, in the £40,000 to £55,000 segment. At the top end of the range, this plushest Invincible version might tempt luxury SUV segment customers, with its saving of around £12,000 over the larger and differently targeted Land Cruiser V8 model that Toyota provides for disaffected Range Rover buyers. Here though, our focus is on this slightly smaller, more family-orientated D4D six-cylinder Land Cruiser, a car more likely to be bought for its practical versatility, though its usual seven-seater layout can be exchanged for a five-seat configuration in entry-level trim. Few though will want to make the marginal £700 saving this confers. The value proposition on offer here needs to be put into context. Yes, you can buy a larger diesel-powered automatic seven-seat SUV for less. A Kia Sorento or a Hyundai Santa Fe would save you £10,000 to £12,000, but neither of these two are really properly capable off-road. A Mitsubishi Shogun is and could save you the same kind of money, while with a SsangYong Rexton W the saving would be as much as £14,000. But in neither case is the quality or model heritage quite the same. There's a reason why people find the extra money for a Discovery, and it's the same reason people want to stretch to this Land Cruiser. It's a tougher, more rugged choice than the Land Rover product. When was the last time you saw UN peace convoys on the news using Discoveries? And that's something you'll either like or you won't. If this is what you're looking for, then you're going to want to know what's included as part of the standard spec. And the answer is a very reasonable amount. All variants getting standard features like 17-inch alloy wheels, side steps, headlamp washers, front fog lamps, LED daytime running lights, roof rails, power folding heated mirrors, automatic air conditioning, cruise control, keyless entry and start, a leather-trimmed multifunction steering wheel with stereo controls, plus the Toyota Touch 2 infotainment touchscreen system with multimedia connectivity, via which you can operate a 9-speaker stereo, plug in USB sticks and Bluetooth link in your phone. To this tally, the mid-spec Icon version adds larger 18-inch wheels, leather trim, satellite navigation with Google Street View, a 14-speaker JBL synthesis stereo with DAB radio, electric heated seats, auto headlamps and wipers, a useful reverse parking camera with front and rear parking sensors, power third-row seat operation, and the neat, easy-flat rear seat folding setup. At the top of the range, this Invincible model throws in key niceties like an electric sunroof and a rear seat Blu-ray entertainment system with a drop-down 9-inch VGA screen. Bear in mind that the trim you choose will make quite a difference to the dynamic possibilities this car can offer. Though the off-road basics, permanent four-wheel drive with high and low range options, a centre Torsen limited slip differential, a centre differential lock, HAC hill start assist control and DAC downhill assist control, all of those are fitted across the range. Fancier off-piste features require you to spend more. You'll need to stretch at least to mid-range Icon spec to get things like the body angle monitoring system and the off-road traction monitoring setup. Plus, you'll also need this variant for the desirable KDSS kinetic dynamic suspension system that makes off-road driving more comfortable and on tarmac limits body roll in the bends. At the Icon trim level, there's also the option of adding the really clever mud plugging features that come as standard on a top Invincible version like this one. Ironically, the variant least likely to see rough road service. That means an off-road pack that gives you the MTS multi-terrain select system so that you can adapt the car to the ground that you're travelling over, then observe your progress via a multi-terrain monitor and keep an eye on the amount of look you put on through the turns via a steering angle display. The package also includes a crawl control feature to help ease you out of really sticky situations. This Invincible variant adds a rear differential lock too, plus for on-tarmac use, the desirable AVS Adaptive Variable Suspension package with its magic carpet-style electronically modulated rear air suspension. At least you don't have to progress up the range or resort to the options list for a decent basic roster of safety stuff. As well as ISOFIX child seat fastenings, anti-whiplash front head restraints and a pedestrian-friendly bonnet, there are twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus a driver's knee bag. To hopefully ensure that these will never be needed, buyers get a full roster of advanced electronic aids, including ATRC Active Traction Control, VSC Vehicle Stability Control and a multi-terrain ABS system. Providing you avoid baseline trim, you also get a tyre pressure monitoring setup and AFS adaptive front lighting that turns with the bends, and SOS emergency call assistance that gives you access to connected services in the event of a breakdown or an accident. If you want to go further, the Icon version's optional off-road pack also includes a blind spot monitor to stop you from dangerously pulling out to overtake in front of another car, lane change assist to stop dozy drivers pulling out in front of another vehicle on the highway, and a rear cross traffic alert feature that stops you from dangerously reversing out of a parking space into the flow of traffic. Now, all these things are standard on this top Invincible variant, along with trailer stability control. At this level, you can also specify a safety pack, which gives you two key features. First, adaptive cruise control to keep you a safe distance from the car in front on the highway. And second, a clever pre-collision system with a radar that scans the road ahead as you drive in search of potential accident hazards. If one is detected, you'll be warned. If you don't respond or aren't able to, the brakes will automatically be applied to decrease the severity of any resulting accident. Nobody is going to purchase a Toyota Land Cruiser expecting miracles on the running cost front, so this vehicle's 34.9 miles to the gallon combined cycle fuel economy and 214 grams per kilometre emissions showing might be a little better than you may have expected. That's a way off what you get from cheaper and less rugged rivals like Kia's Sorento and Hyundai Santa Fe, but it's about the same as you get from comparably tough competitors like Mitsubishi's Shogun, SsangYong's Rexton W and Land Rover's Discovery. An eco driving indicator is there to help owners get somewhere close to the published figures. It'll be expensive to tax then, but at least residual values are and will stay very strong. Expect around 52% of your original purchase price back after the usual 3-year standard ownership period. That's thanks to the relatively low numbers sold, this car's bulletproof quality and its loyal following. Insurance groups are pitched at 31 for the 3-door and 5-door 5-seat models and Group 34 for the rest of the range. As before, maintenance costs can be kept down thanks to a fixed price servicing plan, and there's a 5-year 100,000 mile warranty that you'll almost certainly never need. Yes, this improved 4th generation 6-cylinder Land Cruiser has smartened up its act, but it still remains a proper 4x4 intended for a proper 4x4 lifestyle, not the smiley marketing one you see in the brochures of lesser SUV models. It'll never let you down, and it'll very comfortably get you and 6 passengers wherever you want to go, be your destination Kensington or Kenya. Such has always been the appeal of the Land Cruiser. This Smart 4 model, though, has had its all-round on- and off-road superiority threatened by the excellence of rivals like Land Rover's Discovery, which is why Toyota has responded in kind, producing a vehicle just as capable and probably better suited to the many third-world users who wouldn't be seen dead driving anything else. It's a slightly better bet for road-going use too, though if it's a tarmac SUV you want, then this isn't it. No, this remains a vehicle fit for purpose, A car that'll still be happily ploughing through the mud ruts when you've long ago forgotten you ever owned the thing. As an ultimately capable long-term ownership proposition, there isn't much that beats it.